Hello, I'm back, and as you can see, this time we have face cam, and hopefully this time we also have better audio, because I'm just using this microphone instead of the one that came with the camera. Something I didn't mention last video is that I got a new YouTube profile picture and banner, which looks so high quality that it makes my videos feel like clickbait. I just want to mention that because it wouldn't sit right with me not to mention the huge facelift this channel has gotten. A huge thanks to the artist that made these. I'll try to keep my videos as high quality as possible, but at the same time, I can't guarantee anything because I'm not that good at making videos or editing or writing. Anyhow, let's do this intro to a bit of a build-up for the actual game by explaining what the main concept of the game is. If you've played a single visual novel in your life, you probably don't need an explanation for this, but I'm still gonna give one. Schrodinger's cat is a very old thought experiment coined in 1935, and it goes as follows. Look at this box right here. Inside of this box, there's a cat, a flask with poison, and a radioactive material. Also inside this box there's a Geiger counter, which if it detects that an atom from the radioactive material has decayed, it will break the flask causing the poison to leak out. The main point here is that it's pretty random. Maybe the atom decayed, maybe it didn't. You won't know until you open the box to confirm. Therefore, you don't know what happened to the cat. While the box is still sealed, we don't know the fate of the cat. Because we don't know if the cat is dead or alive, it is argued that it's both. It's both dead and it's both alive at the same time, because we can't perceive it otherwise. So, until that box is opened, we have no idea if the cat inside is dead or alive. Cat in the Box is also the title of the game I played. Released in 2020 for RPGmaker VX Ace, this is a game that I actually really like. And it's a game that really thrives with its story. So for this game, I'm gonna speed a bit through the other segments and then we'll get into a very detailed explanation of the story. Be warned, this is a game that I really want to dissect the story of. So there are gonna be spoilers further ahead, but I'll warn you when we get to it. But for now, let's go to the segments. Assets, gameplay, and then story, and maybe something in the middle if I improvise it. The assets of this game have a very distinct feel to them and really fit. These dark assets and art style really go well with the game being a horror game. From looking at the credits, this game was made by one person, Gustav, with the help from 4 people. Gustav handles the main game design, character graphics, terrain graphics, and music and sound effects, while also getting help for the character graphics and music and sound effects. The CGs are done by an artist on their own, and they fucking killed it. These look great. The actual assets and the scripts used in this game are what I expected to see because they aren't overcomplicated, and they also borrowed some assets, which is always fair game. The sound effects work really well because they were able to scare the absolute shit out of me, and the music fits really well with the aesthetic of the game. The gameplay is very simple and it's just your run-of-the-mill horror game, with walking and puzzle solving. This game adds a bit more glamour to it by adding some groundbreaking mechanics, like a stamina bar. Which sounds like a meme, but for RPGmaker that is pretty rare to see. Another thing that's pretty rare to see is quick time events and custom mechanics for small things. For example, this unscrewing mechanic which gets used like 3 times in the game. It's really minor, forgettable, and honestly kind of necessary. But something like this is ahead of most games in the same genre. What I'm trying to say is that this game feels ahead of others in the sector because they did the bare minimum of adding something new. They even have diagonal movement, which a lot of games on MV don't even have, like Fear and Hunger. So I'd like to argue that the gameplay, compared to a lot of other games in the same sphere, is pretty high quality, especially for these type of games where the gameplay doesn't really matter, and the most important part is the puzzles and the scares. The puzzles in this game are very basic, but I like them, they do their job, even though most of them are just retrieving an item or flipping some switches. They're not bad, but there's nothing groundbreaking here. The scares in this game are also pretty solid, with me getting scared over 3 times. Fucking hell. Fuck me! Oh my god! Look at my ass! Which for me is pretty rare, since I don't get scared from RPGmaker games. So, for me to be scared by this one either makes me a huge pussy, or means they did something right. And last thing to mention is that the extra little Easter eggs are really cool to see. Time to get into the story! The story is the best aspect of this game. It's around 2 hours long, and it's able to elevate the entire experience on its own. To the point where I want to say that the game is really good just because of the story. So for me to explain why the story is so good and why I really loved it, I'm going to do a very in-depth summary of it, which is gonna mean a lot of spoilers. But before that, let me give a quick synopsis. A girl decides to one day visit a mansion which was used for a mass ritual suicide. When she gets inside, she finds out that something's very wrong, and now you have to find a way to escape the cursed mansion. Very simple premise. If you like horror games in general, or think that this interests you, please play this game. It sounds really simple, but it's able to do something incredible with it. Please play the game, link in the description, buy it, it's worth the price tag, trust me, it is really good. Spoilers ahead. It's time to get into the story. This story follows your playable character, a girl with no name. Even though I named her Luna, for the sake of this video, let's call her Cat. Get it? Get it? Get it like the joke? Cat in the box! The game starts off with Cat reminiscing about that one time her sister explained to her the cat box theory, which I mentioned at the start of this video. And like I mentioned before, she also goes to a mansion where a cult had committed a mass ritualistic suicide. The reason why she came to this place is because she's a ghost hunter for YouTube. She goes from one creepy location to another, hoping to one day become a big YouTuber. She also does the classic YouTube engagement bait of
Say the line, Bart!
like, comment, and subscribe. Yay! Her being a YouTuber is something that to the player may seem funny, but is actually a very clever way to disguise a justification for some exposition dumps. Her monologuing about information about this place is natural because she's giving an actual explanation for her YouTube audience. Entering inside the mansion, we can tell two things. One, Kat doesn't like her job as she's incredibly uncomfortable inside of here. And two, that there's something very off about this mansion because it has an almost nonsensical layout. But it becomes more clear when we reach the basement, especially with this tongue-in-cheek comment. As for some otherworldly reason, this mansion has an entire church underneath it, which I don't think mansions normally have churches underneath them, but I could be wrong. People with money are fucking crazy, I don't know. Reaching the altar, you encounter a mysterious person, which is very weird because this house is supposed to be abandoned. Not only that, he also has a knife, so that can only mean one thing. Run away from him until you reach the hideout spot. You can choose to go back or hide in the room. Surely must have teleported away after watching the end of the— oh, never mind, I'm dead. Quick correction, it doesn't say go back, it says go inside, so deeper inside of the mansion. So, what ended up killing you? I'm going to mention this part because when you go back and redo the sequence after making the wrong choice, it actually remembers your choice that you made, and it won't give you it again. You immediately go into hiding, which is something I haven't really seen before in an RPGmaker game. By that I don't mean like the game remembering your choice, but more that when you reload the save file, where you fucked up from, it remembered that previously you fucked up. Another choice is completely gone. So it's not dependent on the save file, it's actually dependent on the game. After escaping from the killer, you realize you're out of your depth and you should not stay here any longer. So as any smart person would, you decide to leave. Which is when the most important part of the game becomes clear to us. We are stuck. And this time, it's not just a case of the front door being locked like with Witch's house or with Aoni. This box is sealed. You cannot exit it from the inside. Which actually reminded me of a movie called Grave Encounters, which is a fine movie. The feeling of being hopelessly stuck, especially when there's no logical explanation as to why you're stuck, really helps to feel the dread of the situation. And it's something that's pretty rare to see in horror, so seeing it done here made me really happy. After it sets in on Kat the sheer hopelessness of the situation, she breaks down. Before fully giving up, there's a knock on the door she just came through. A stranger who tells you that whatever was chasing you is gone for now. Which is some very coincidental timing that somebody would just at this point show up. But at the same time, he did make a fuck ton of noise, so it's not that surprising. They proceed to tell you that he's happy to see another person here. Kat starts to both calm down that there's actually another person here, but also panic a bit more because that means that the other person doesn't know to get out either. The stranger mentions that you and him should team up to both find a way out of here and find more information about this place. Then he asks you if you have any spare chocolate bars. Which, when I read that line, some alarms started to go off in my head. Because coincidentally, I do have chocolate bars. You start the game off with a camcorder tape, and 2 chocolate bars. And sometimes something special, but that's a little Easter egg I'm not gonna mention. And for him to ask that from all possible things, specifically a chocolate bar, made me think that there's something really off with this person. So I'm already on edge with him. Either how, I don't really need these chocolate bars, so I'll give him one. It's a no item run, baby. He thanks you for giving him a chocolate bar, says that he's gonna keep on exploring, and also distract the crazy killer so you would be safe while exploring. He then just disappears. Well, there goes the only person to talk to. Mental anguish aside, it's time to get back to the YouTube grind set and explore this place. Something that I found weird during the start of the exploration is that when you look around, there are fucking camcorder tapes everywhere, which is to use this game as a way to save. I understand having a lot of them, but they're just scattered all over the place, like it doesn't make sense. A lot of exploration later, seeing that the stranger isn't doing his best on distracting the killer and doing a lot of weird puzzles, you start puzzling things together. For example, you find out that this mansion is comically big, like actually incomprehensible so. It's almost like the fucking backside of this box just kept going. Which, you don't know, because you can't see it from the angle, but I can. You also start seeing more on how the cult that used this place as their home base was organized. They performed rituals, had a medical section for their cult members, and even had small children partake in the cult. Which is a sad thought now knowing that they all disappeared. And with the mentions of them preparing a ritual and trying to perfect it, I'm coming to the conclusion that they may have succeeded. While entering a very elegant looking bedroom, you have another through the door conversation with a stranger, who immediately asks you if you could borrow a chocolate bar. Which you answer that you already gave him a chocolate bar. And he apparently completely forgot about it. What's that guy up to? I don't know, I'm not really trusting him right now. And with me not trusting him, I decided to take a bit of a more aggressive approach by asking him why he didn't do anything about the killer. He basically says, whoopsie, but he managed to hurt the killer pretty well. After that, he says that all of this is probably linked to the disappearance of the cult. Which, no shit, dumbass. If it's linked to anything, it's probably that. He also mentions that this house has a lot of hidden stuff, so we should keep an eye out for that. Deciding to ask him why we just don't go together, he says that, oh, he's not in the right state right now and he looks horrible. Which, damn bro, who cares? I'm stuck in this hopeless situation, I don't care how you look like. After that he leaves. Well, back to exploring. Go to the vent in the bedroom and shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, it's been 2 years now, you can stop forgetting about it. And oops, everything fades to black until you suddenly wake up in a new room. And over a statue sits in the corner of the room with some bloody footsteps leading to a door. Something I noticed and you may notice is that something is missing. The VHS filter, which was on the screen the entire time, is gone. Another thing that's missing is my menu, because I can't click escape to open it. Guess there's no way out of it. Entering the room, you find yourself, but like an evil fucked up version of yourself. You can tell it's evil because of the red text box. Run away, you see more versions of yourself, weird tentacle monster things, and before you exit the savage place, the statue again. Kat then wakes up in the room that was connected to the vent. Must have been a nightmare, which checks out with the VHS filter being back. I wanted to mention this instead of skipping over it because of the very interesting things that it shows. The statue, the spider creatures, and yourself dying and trying to kill you, being a very big part of it, paints a picture that we should probably give this more attention than just being a nightmare sequence or a way to tell the end of an act, like with the Chemitan for example. Let's keep going while I speed up a bit, explore around more. This place won't stop getting bigger and bigger, and keeping track of everything that's happening, it's getting harder and harder. There's a jail room, which if the underground church didn't already make you believe that something was wrong, this definitely does, because I don't think a mansion should have a fucking jail system. And in this jail, there's somebody covered in bandages. Sadly, we can't interact with them outside of the game over screen. But still, I want to mention it because there is somebody here aside from us, the stranger, and the killer. Could this be a cult member? Maybe. But if you were a cult member, shouldn't he have disappeared? Maybe they were still lucky. Fucking more puzzles, we find an elevator which apparently is over capacity. Open up the top of the elevator to drag down whatever it is that is weighing it down. Jump scare, and we enter a new nightmare sequence. Continue further ahead and you see a really fucking cool monster. The way it's animated and moving is the first I've seen in an RPGmaker game, especially for VXAs. I'm pretty sure it's pixel art, which is even more impressive. Sorry, technical stuff aside, there's a little don't get spotted segment with this monster. If you manage to pass, you enter a hall with a lot of holes. Walking through it, the same spider-eye creatures from the other nightmares show up. And when they catch you, you wake up in the elevator once again. This is the second time both the creatures and the statues showed up. Okay, that's enough. There has to be something more to this. This has to be connected to the cult in some way. Who the fuck were they worshipping? Luckily, I think I have an answer for that. In one of the cult's writings, you find a name of very big importance. That name being Dagon. This is who I believe who the cult worshipped. You may have heard of the name, but if you haven't, I'll explain who it is. Dagon is a fictional monster made by the one and only H.P. Lovecraft, mentioned in the story by the same name. So with that, we can at least explain why everything is this way. It's because they summoned an incomprehensible horror. Down the elevator we go. This place is still fucking huge. Walking down the left hallway, we get chased by one of the monsters from those nightmares. Fucking told you there were more than just nightmares. Hide from it, have another convo with a stranger where he tells you he has an idea of what to do, but he needs your help grabbing some stuff. At this point, we don't have a choice, so let's just go along with it. A lot of spooky stuff later, like the statue doing weird stuff, and another nightmare sequence, we finally get all the items that the stranger needs. He meets us in front of the altar. Finally not through a door, but he's still hiding in the shadows. He tells us that we have to conduct a ritual with the items that we have collected. Seeing as so far we have put our full faith into his plan, we go along with it. Put the chalice in the middle, put the spider lily inside of it, cut off your own face. Whoa. Okay, stop, hold up. It's kinda messed up, bro. And Kat thinks so too, almost breaking down at the thought of it. The stranger explains that it is the same ritual used by the cult, but modified so it could hopefully make us escape. It sounds extreme, but it's the only way out of here. With that, we are given a choice. Ladies and gentlemen, the ending split is upon us. And for the sake of this video, I'm choosing to trust him. If it wasn't for this video, I wouldn't have trusted him. I would have fucking killed him. So we choose to trust him and we cut off our own finger. He tells you to chant, "I sacrifice for thee," to complete the ritual. So we start chanting, "I sacrifice for thee, I sacrifice for thee, Wait, where are you going to? Wait, what the fuck? Where are you going? What the fuck are you doing? Couple of chants later, we're all alone. Time to see if it worked. We head to the front door, asking ourselves where the stranger is, and we find out that we're still trapped. In full panic, Kat starts looking all over the house, begging for the stranger to come out and help her. As the screen cuts to black, the game ends. You have been betrayed. Who could have seen that coming? Definitely not me! But let's analyze this real quick. The stranger, just like you, was trapped in this house for the entire game. He made you do the ritual so he could escape while leaving you as the person stuck inside this house. If during the entire game, you blindly put your faith into him, so trusting every word he says, this is the ending you are forced to get. Yes, forced. You don't get the option for the other ending. Which, from a narrative standpoint, I understand. You never doubted him, so why would you doubt him at the end? But from a gameplay perspective, it's something that can piss people off. You spend the entire game, and now you're at the ending, you're forced to do this ending, and the only way to get the other ending is reloading from a save point, which you don't know when exactly the choice kicks in. So I can understand frustration, but to me, I wouldn't count this as a full negative and more as a nitpicks because it makes sense in the narrative. But I understand that from a gameplay perspective, people can not like this. And also, it's not a problem for me since I doubted the motherfucker the first second I saw him. So let's get into the other ending. The other option is using your brain and actually think about it for a bit, which is what anybody who is not in a hopeless or desperate situation would do. So you push back. Hey, motherfucker, why don't you do this yourself? He responds with him saying that he just recently figured this out and that he's also hurt. Not convincing enough, so we start to think a little bit more about it. You can do this on your own, right? Yet you didn't. Which means you weren't certain or you don't want to sacrifice your finger. You got him there. The stranger states that he's running out of time. And if you're so suspicious, then there's no other choice. He steps out of the shadows to reveal that he was the killer the entire time. He removes the bag from his head to reveal that it's you. A version of you with a bandage covering her left eye. You try to run away, but she quickly corners you and forces you to listen to her monologue. We shouldn't have set foot in here in the first place. Like how curiosity killed the cat. Get it? Our stubbornness trapped us here. Do it while I'm asking you nicely. I could just kill you and use your dead body. This line makes us react, pointing out that that's probably a lie. If you could have killed us, you would have a long time ago. To which she responds with a, you got me. Okay, let me change the terms. Can you do as I say, or I'll torture you to death? Still, you stand your ground. Looks like you need some help making your decision. I'm sure you'd change your mind if you had one eye. And with that, we go into another quick time event like if we were Resident Evil. I trained my fucking reaction time with Rainbow Six Siege for years. You picked the wrong opponent for a quick time event. You easily overpower her, or at least I hope you did. If you failed this, kinda suck. And you pin her to the ground. Before you can interrogate her, tentacles start spewing out of her left eye. Kinda hot. She's writhing in pain, so you decide to save her. Don't worry, I got this. I'm a professional. You just stand still. Ah. Oops. Congratulations, you're a murderer now! But no time to process all of that. We need to get out of here. You go to the altar to perform the ritual, where you get a choice of either using your own finger or using the stranger's finger. We're gonna use our fingers since we know for a fact it probably won't work if we use the corpse, like she said. You perform the ritual and the chant. The world starts quaking until it stops. You rush to the front door and you're outside the mansion. You've escaped. We rush to the main gates as it fades to black. While it fades to black, you hear the sounds of the bike that you will not again hear fade into the distance. An undisclosed amount of time later, you're at the hospital with your sister by your side. You're in a bit of a catatonic state. Your sister asks what happened back in there, but you don't respond. As the visiting hours come to an end, your sister tells you she loves you as she leaves. During the night, you sit on your bed, slowly whispering to yourself, Sis, window, the window. As thunder flashes, you see tentacles for a split second. And then the credits begin to roll. Fuck, this video is gonna be long. How long is it? Oh my god. Now I've talked you through the whole story. Let's try and give an explanation of it. But there isn't like a concrete explanation, so I'm just gonna give my interpretation of it. The second we step inside the mansion, our fate is sealed and we're stuck in a time loop. This time loop is caused by the cult having assumedly successfully summoned Dagon. There is no escape from it. That's my interpretation of the game. I'm pretty sure it's Dagon since it's mentioned in the game, and also the last line of the Divine ending, which is the one where you're in the hospital, mentions the line window the window, which is a reference and also the last line from the Dagon story. This time loop consists of an infinite number of versions of yourself being trapped here at the same time, which are all connected in some way. This is reinforced by a myriad of things. You and the stranger being there at the same time is probably the biggest tell. But there's also a lot of smaller things, like a secret encounter you can have if you stand still at the start of the game for at least 10 minutes. Yes, 10 real-time minutes. Stand still for around that time and another version of yourself walks in. Or how about the chase sequence? After choosing the wrong option, you can't get it again. Maybe that version of you choosing the wrong option is supposed to be another version of yourself in this time loop that fucked up. All the bad endings and game overs are technically canon, since they all happen in this time loop. And let's talk about the endings in a little bit more detail, since they have a lot of extra information. If you fail the quick time against the stranger, you get a unique game over screen where she gouges her eye out and then she's able to actually escape from the mansion. Afterwards, you wake up in another room where you mentioned that your eye is itchy and that you're hungry. So it's implied how that version of the stranger came to be. There's another secret scene in the game that can occur when you enter and leave the kitchen repeatedly. A conversation between two versions of yourself play out, which I actually think is a continuation to the betrayal ending, since she states, okay, now I get it. Which is just my interpretation of it, and I don't think a lot of people share my idea. And since it's said that every ending is canon, that also implies all the bad endings are canon. For example, the bad ending of you at the start of the game trying to immediately leave the mansion, getting lost in the woods, and still being stuck in this time loop. Or the ending that happens when you've cut off the stranger's fingers instead of your own. In that ending, you escape the mansion but fall off a cliff before being able to exit the premises. And at the bottom of the cliff, there are an endless amount of corpses and also an endless amount of statues. Talking about the statues, they definitely have a big significance in this game. A friend of mine said that statues could be used to symbolize death or the time loop. I personally think that it's used as a way to symbolize the curse that this mansion has. So also a bit of a time loop. The statues were also visible in the nightmares, so I think it has to do more with the curse. In those nightmares, we also see those weird creepy versions of yourself and those spider-eye creatures, which I believe both are versions of yourself being affected by this curse. Hell, I believe every single character in this game is a version of yourself. So that means the stranger, the killer, the prisoner which we saw before, which I mentioned, I hope you didn't forget, the pile of corpses all over the place, the cursed version of yourself in the nightmares, the hanged version of yourself in the nightmares, and the spiders. With the only outlier of that idea being your sister, which I think could actually be your real sister having showed up to the place after getting the divine ending, where she says, what happened in that place? So that makes me think that your sister, after seeing in what state you are, decides to herself go check out the mansion. So that means that this time loop is happening at every possible time. And the time loop also explains all those tape recorders lying around. Those were all from other versions of yourself who had met their demise. Every single cat in this loop has the same items. That's when the stranger asks you if you have a chocolate bar, because he knew that we definitely had one. That's why later on, she asks you the same question, because she doesn't know who the person she's talking to is the person she's been gaslighting, or a completely different version of yourself. And if you don't answer, she goes inside and kills you, because she's not taking the risk. This huge fucking info dump of theory crafting and all these details I'm just spewing out is to explain that this story is so incredibly detailed and complex for a game that's 2 hours long. There are so many details here that add to the narrative, which all are somehow connected. I don't know what's right and what's wrong. It makes me into a fucking conspiracy theorist trying to figure out the actual things that are happening in this game. That to me is a testament of how fucking high quality this game is. It's one of the more complex puzzling narratives I've seen in an RPGmaker game. And the best part is that with the narrative that it presents to you, you can actually make it work. You can actually make sense of it. You can see some form of connection between all these details, and with that you can actually come to a conclusion, which can be different from every player's. Despite that, there are still a lot of questions. What is the actual fate of our character? Are we even the original version? What happens to Kat? Does she actually leave the mansion? Does she die? Does she become the killer? Does she become a cursed spider? Does she get lost in the forest? Does she fall off a cliff? My conclusion is that we aren't supposed to know. That's the entire point of it. We don't know the fate of the cat inside of the box. And that's kind of smart. Cat in the Box to me is a very special RPGmaker game, with its complex and incredibly thought out narrative, while also being able to differentiate itself from other games in the same genre. That said, it does have one major problem, which is that if you don't care about the story, or it's not able to captivate you, the game may just end up feeling like any normal horror RPGmaker game, which I'm pretty sure most people won't suffer from. Hell, I didn't suffer from it, but it's always a possibility. If you just don't vibe with the story, or you just don't get it, it might just seem like a whatever game. Especially since the other parts of the game are kinda whatever, compared to the actual story. That said, because I do really like the story and I do really like the things that present this game, I'm gonna say that this game is really fucking good.
I just can't do it. I can't take this shit no more, man.
I adore the story. I love the little attention and secrets to detail. I'm impressed by the art style and the aesthetic, and how ashamed that this is the most gameplay I've seen in a horror RPGmaker game. I am putting this game just below Fear and Hunger. I believe that Fear and Hunger and Candlebox are one of the few games that so far I can say are just flat out great. But Fear and Hunger beats it out by just being a bigger package. If you like horror games or very complex narratives, please check out this game. I loved it and I hope you do too. Leave your opinions down in the comments below. Leave your opinions on any of the games I may cover in the future down in the comments below. I still got a long way to go with all these videos, and especially this one. I've taken a lot of time to try and make this. I've rewritten this script now multiple times, and now's the only time I could say I'm like happy enough with the script. I hope you're happy enough with the video, because this took a long time to make. My upload schedule is probably a bit fucked, but I promise that my videos will release on Saturdays. So no other day except for Saturday. I can't tell you when, but the video after this one should come out the week afterwards because I already had prepared. Oopsie. Anyhow, on to the next game. Oh, is this a Charon game? Oh, alright.